These groups did not sleep 8 solid hours. They slept in a biphasic pattern, often waking in the night for an hour or two of quiet activity, talking, tending a fire, lying still, before sleeping again until sunrise. Their total sleep time averaged 6 to 7.5 hours, but it was flexible, responsive to temperature and light, and embedded in the rhythms of the natural world. It was nothing like the single block of sleep modern culture has decided is correct. They managed conflict very carefully. Hunter-gatherer societies were not violent utopias, but they had powerful mechanisms to prevent any one person from accumulating too much power. Anthropologist Christopher Boehm, in his landmark work on human social hierarchy, documented a behavior he called counter-dominance. When someone in a hunter-gatherer group began acting dominant, greedy, or self-important, the group did not wait. They gossiped about the person. They refused to cooperate. They mocked them openly. They used social pressure with enormous precision. Boehm called this behavior a reverse dominance hierarchy. Not the strongest person running the group actively working to keep any one person from running it. They ate erratically, feast and fast. Your ancestors did not eat 3 meals at fixed intervals. They ate when food was available, which was not always. Research on modern hunter-gatherers and on metabolic science suggests the human body is extraordinarily well adapted to intermittent food access. Your liver stores glycogen. Your fat cells exist precisely to fuel you across long periods with no food. The concept of breakfast as the most important meal of the day was not discovered by anthropologists. It was invented by cereal companies in the early 20th century. They moved constantly, but not in the way you think. They did not run marathons. They walked long, slow, irregular distances through varied terrain. Primatologist Hermann Ponzer, in his research comparing the energy expenditure of Hadza hunter-gatherers with modern Western populations, made a startling discovery. Despite being physically active throughout the day, the Hadza did not burn significantly more calories than sedentary Westerners. The body, Ponzer found, adapts its baseline metabolic rate to its lifestyle. What the Hadza did burn energy on differently was immune function, inflammation, and cellular maintenance, the quiet, invisible work that keeps a body healthy over decades. They experienced fear, but not chronic stress. There is a crucial biological difference between acute stress, the sudden surge of adrenaline when a predator appears, and chronic stress, the low-level cortisol that courses through your body when you worry about money, status, the future, and what people think of you. Your ancient ancestors absolutely experienced the first kind. It kept them alive. They experienced very little of the second kind. There was no mortgage. There was no performance review. There was no comparison between your life and the life of someone you had never met on a platform designed to make you feel inadequate. Psychologist Robert Sapolsky has spent decades studying stress in primates and humans, and his conclusion is stark. Chronic psychological stress, the kind modern humans marinate in constantly, is almost uniquely human and almost uniquely destructive. It suppresses immunity. It accelerates aging. It rewires the brain toward anxiety and away from pleasure. Your ancient ancestors woke up. They moved when they needed to. They talked to the people near them. They looked at the world around them without trying to extract value from it. They rested without guilt. They ate what was available. They slept when it was dark and woke when it was light. They spent their evenings around fire, which researchers now believe served not just a practical function, but a deeply social one. Flickering firelight appears to activate a calm, connected state in the human brain that is distinct from both wakefulness and sleep. And now you are here, sitting, doing several things at once, with somewhere to be. The irony is not subtle. Everything your culture tells you is productive. The constant movement, the packed schedule, the unbroken focus, the single long block of sleep, the guilt about rest, is a recent invention. None of it existed for the vast majority of human history. And your body, shaped by millions of years of a very different life, has not caught up. It probably never will. So the next time you feel the pull toward doing nothing, toward sitting in the sun, talking without purpose, staring at the sky, laughing at something that does not matter, understand what that pull actually is. It is not laziness. It is not failure. It is your biology remembering something your schedule has forgotten. Right now, you are probably sitting. You might be doing several things at once. You have a schedule. You have somewhere to be. You are optimizing, rushing, producing. But here is something strange to consider. For 95% of human history, your ancestors had none of that. And the life they actually lived would disturb you deeply. Because what ancient humans did all day was almost nothing you would recognize as productive. And science now suggests that their way of living was not primitive. It was, in many ways, closer to what your body was actually built for. Let us go back. Way back. Not to ancient Rome or ancient Egypt. Those are recent. Go back to the Paleolithic, the long, slow stretch of human existence that lasted from roughly 3.3 million years ago to about 12,000 years ago. This is where your biology was shaped. This is the environment your nervous system still thinks it is living in. Anthropologist Marshall Savlins made a provocative argument in 1966. He called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society. His claim was controversial and still debated, but the core data was hard to argue with. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups like the Kungsan of the Kalahari showed that adults typically spent only 3 to 5 hours per day acquiring food. Not 10 hours, not 8 hours, 3 to 5. So what did they do with the rest of the time? The answer reveals something important about the human mind. They rested, not lazily, restfully. Lying in the shade during the heat of the day was not a failure of ambition. It was a strategy. Your body loses water and energy rapidly in heat. Stillness during peak sun hours is how your nervous system conserves resources for when they are actually needed. This behavior has been observed in virtually every documented hunter-gatherer group. Rest was not the absence of activity. It was the activity. They talked a lot. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar has studied the social behavior of humans and primates for decades. His research suggests that roughly 65% of human conversation in modern and traditional societies alike is devoted to social information, gossip, relationships, who did what, who said what, who can be trusted. This was not idle chatter. It was the original social network, and it was critical for survival. Knowing who was reliable in your group could mean the difference between eating and starving, between protection and abandonment. They played. Across documented hunter-gatherer societies, adults played games, told jokes, engaged in physical contests, and spent hours in unstructured activity. Play was not just for children. Anthropologist Peter Gray, in his research on hunter-gatherer children and adults, found that play was treated as a near-sacred part of daily life. The San people reportedly laughed constantly. The Hadza of Tanzania, one of the oldest surviving hunter-gatherer societies on Earth, are known for spending substantial parts of their day in rest, conversation, and music. They made things, not because someone told them to and not to trade. They carved, they painted, they wove, they made jewelry from shells and beads tens of thousands of years before any formal economy existed. The oldest known personal ornaments, shell beads found in Morocco, date to roughly 150,000 years ago. Your ancestors were decorating themselves and their world long before agriculture, long before language was fully formed, and long before anyone had a concept of a career. They watched. Your ancient ancestors spent enormous amounts of time simply observing the world around them. Animal behavior, cloud patterns, the position of stars, the smell of the wind. This was not passive. It was the primary data-gathering mode of a species that had no books, no screens, no stored information. Everything they knew had to come from paying close attention to the present moment. Neuroscientist Judson Brewer, in his research on attention and craving, has found that this kind of open, undirected observation activates networks in the brain associated with creativity, insight, and emotional regulation. Your ancient ancestors were, in modern terms, excellent at mindfulness. Not because they practiced it, because they had no alternative. They slept in a way you do not. Researcher Jerome Siegel studied the sleep patterns of 3 traditional societies, the Hadza, the San, and the Tsimane of Bolivia, and published his findings in Current Biology in 2015. What he found overturned a fundamental assumption about natural human sleep. These groups did not sleep 8 solid hours. They slept in a biphasic pattern, often waking in the night for an hour or 2 of quiet activity, talking, tending a fire, lying still, before sleeping again until sunrise. Their total sleep time averaged 6 to 7.5 hours, but it was flexible, responsive to temperature and light, and embedded in the rhythms of the natural world. It was nothing like the single block of sleep modern culture has.